Hi Taylor, my name is Chris and I'm a YouTuber from the Philippines. It's so great to meet you. For my subscribers and viewers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to make this documentary?
Sure. My name's Taylor. I'm an indie filmmaker. I live in Oregon, which is, close to California, but might as well be the middle of nowhere, opposite side of the world. And I make pop culture documentaries, and Lost was my favorite show. Before I ever dreamed of being a filmmaker, when I was going to be a famous musician, and that didn't work out, I just fell in love with this TV show. I went to Hawaii and watched them film it and met some of the cast and was just blown away by this show. And 10 years later, when I started making documentaries, I remembered this time about this show. God, I love Lost. I loved talking about it with people. I love the community around the show. Wouldn't it be fun to make a documentary about that? Hey, maybe we'll get to like talk to some of the cast about it. Or, if we're really lucky, we'll talk to J.J. Abrams about what it was like inventing this island. And, 3 years later, after we started that, here we are, and we got to do all those things.
If you had the chance to direct an episode of Lost, what episode would that be?
Oh man. It'd probably be something from season 5. I was a huge fan of the time travel storylines and that stuff. I don't remember the name of the episode, but the one where Hurley is rewriting The Empire Strikes Back. That's that's one of my favorite things, and that's sort of my sense of humor, like that sort of thing was just right up my alley. So it'd probably be like a funnier episode in season 5 with weird time travel stuff.
Who was your favorite character on the show and why?
I started out, like I said, I was a musician and I was going to play in these rock bands. And so Charlie was my guy, watching the first season and, hearing him sing, "You all, everybody." That was so right up my alley. And then, spoiler alert, Charlie dies, right? And there was this spiritual handoff, I think, where that energy from Charlie was sort of given, I think, to Hurley's character of, Hurley was the one most affected next to Claire when Charlie dies. The show told me if you were following Charlie, he's gone now. You have to stick with Hurley. And so on subsequent rewatches after that happened, Hurley was my favorite from the beginning. I don't know, he's sort of the heart of the whole thing, in my opinion.
Being a musician as well, Charlie was my favorite. I even bought the McFarlane toy just to get the ring. But eventually, when Desmond came into the picture, the constant, that episode, it really hit me so much. Underneath all this fear of what's happening on the island, that love story between Desmond and Penny, yeah, that hit me more.
Yeah, when you asked what episode I would choose to direct, obviously the constant pops into your head, but I wouldn't want to touch it. It's such a perfect episode.
Who was your favorite cast or crew to interview? Like maybe not because you enjoyed their character, but just the overall feeling you got like, man, I'm interviewing this person.
That overall feeling of just shock of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting here. It happened to me a few times with the cast. When Josh Holloway walked in the room for the first time, and it's just Sawyer's right there, and he's wearing the cowboy hat, and he walks with that swagger. Daniel Day Kim showing up was exactly the same. I swear he pulled up in a fancy car and he got out in slow motion and took his sunglasses off, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a movie star. And Evangeline Lilly, it's amazing. She makes incredible eye contact when you're interviewing her, and that's just like there were moments where I got lost in my own mind of like, what is happening right now? Am I just talking to Kate from Lost like we're best friends? What is this? But the most fun one, I think, was the DP from the pilot, Larry Fong, the cinematographer. There was a point in his interview where he just stopped to do magic tricks for us because he does sleight of hand magic. And I was just like, what is happening right now? We're just talking about Lost and doing magic. It was fantastic.
What was your favorite twist or reveal from the show?
I mean, everybody's gonna say we have to go back, right? The season 3 finale where they reveal it was a flash forward. And that one was great. That one really got me. But I also really love in season 4, the Sun and Jin episode where you realize that one's a flash forward and one's a flash back. And Jin is bringing the panda, and then it ends and you find out Jin is dead in the future. It's incredible. I think that's really good, twisty storytelling. But I mean, really, the one that for me that changed television forever was the end of Walkabout when you find out Locke was in a wheelchair. TV, like serialized television never had twists like that. We were already 3 hours in and invested in all these characters, and all of a sudden you realize there's like crazy magic on this island and anything can happen.
You also directed another one of my favorite documentaries in the past years, The Last Blockbuster. I know that every film set is different with a lot of variables, but what is that one constant you always take with you? Like a mindset or something you learned growing up in the industry that you bring with you in every film you make?
I try to bring a sense of fun and appreciation because I'm a fan, like you, like most of us. Like I make these movies because I love the thing we're talking about. Yeah, I loved going to Blockbuster Video, and that's actually when I started watching Lost, was by renting the DVDs at Blockbuster. So it's all connected. I try to, show up at an interview or at a shoot or whatever and just appreciate that I get to do this, for a living. Like, oh man, I'm sitting and chatting with J.J. Abrams about Lost. What a great job I have today.
If you had the chance to go back to the past as an adult and grow old there, would you do it? And if yes, what time period would you go back to?
Such a great question because nostalgia is such a big part of all these movies that I make, but I don't know if it's realistic. I don't know if, what I miss about the 90s or the 80s was better. Would I rather live out the rest of my days in the 80s, going to the mall and, watching Back to the Future 2 in the theater? When you forget, that you would have had to drive without GPS in weird traffic in a car without seatbelts or anti-lock brakes. We forget about all the things that weren't so great, wasn't as nice as what it is in our memories, right? Like everything smelled like cigarettes, like my whole childhood, and you forget that.
So here's a very serious and important question. Who's scarier, Ben Linus or Charles Widmore?
I mean, in real life, Michael Emerson was the sweetest person I've ever met, but Ben Linus, he was spry and he had that stick he would hit you with. So outside of being like a mastermind of crazy mischief and chaos, he could also kind of just kick your ass, which was scary. I feel like Widmore was just as maniacal, but like it's kind of just an old dude, like a Lex Luthor or like the Joker, right? Which one, one's maybe has more power, but the other one is just crazy and might really mess you up.
If you were one of the survivors of Oceanic 815, how would you choose to live your life in the island? Would you want to be part of the main group and have all these adventures, or would you want to just stick with the folks at the beach?
Now, I remember even when the show was airing, just thinking how Rose and Bernard had it figured out. They're like, you know what? We're healthy. It's a tropical beach. There's food that falls from the sky. We're good. And they just live happily ever after. And I was like, they are not getting into the fights. They're not getting into the drama. They've got it figured out. So I would hope that I would be smart enough to just Rose and Bernard it and go hide. Awesome. And if I could just stay there and no one could email me or text me and food fell from the sky, I would be happy for the rest of my life.
For fans like me eagerly awaiting to watch this film, what can you tease for us? Like something to look forward to?
It's funnier than you think it'll be. It's sadder than you think it'll be. There's a lot of stuff in there, probably that you already know if you're a diehard fan, but there's definitely stuff in there you don't know. The perspective, I think, of everybody who worked on the show looking back 20 years is something no one has talked about. Being able to bring it all together and tie it into the fan community, I think, is something we're really proud of. If you like the finale, then I think you're going to love our documentary. And if you didn't like the finale, then I question your taste in television anyway. So.
Taylor, man, thank you so much. This was such a fun time to speak with a fellow Lostie. I'm just so excited for this documentary to be out for other Losties to watch. So thank you so much for your time, man.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about Lost. That's basically what I do for a living now.